it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. My goal today was to create a card and bookmark gift kind of set. And I got these in recently. These are super cute. These are the giraffe ones are called Go Wild and the birthday is called Hoppy Birthday. And they are a stamp and die set meant for bookmarks. But I am going to use these as bookmarks in today's video. And then I am going to actually create something a little bit different with these later on, and I am not going to be using these as bookmarks. I'm just going to use these as regular dies and stamps. So I want to purchase a product that I can use in lots of different ways and not just perhaps as they were strictly intended, because these are gorgeous as bookmarks and I'm going to show you how to create them today. So at the moment I'm making these, I have die cut this first and I'm making these into really long strips because I wasn't sure how long I wanted my bookmarks to be at first. Then I am just going to pop these on acrylic blocks, but you could line these up with a stamping platform if you wanted to. And that would be fantastic if you were going to kind of batch make these. There are some really good ways to line these up and kind of be able to just do them over and over again without having to shift anything. So I am stamping the back and the front, and the die does both of these, so that is one big plus. And I am actually going to pop some clear embossing powder on top of them just to give them that extra little bit of shine. Now my goal today was to create a card that included these bookmarks, but most importantly I wanted the card to still look like a kind of perfectly good card once the bookmarks had been removed. So I didn't want it to look like something was missing. I feel like sometimes when these are created, you kind of take the gift part or the bookmarks out of it and then it feels like something's missing from the card, whereas I want the card to still be able to be displayed once the bookmarks have been removed, and I still want it to look cute and complete. So that was my goal today, to create a card like that. Now this one here for the little giraffes, I actually did this the other way around. I stamped them first and then die cut them. So either way is going to be good. These are very easy to line up. It's kind of nice and easy to see straight through the middle, and then I'm going to cut these again into really long bookmarks just because they will get cut shorter later on. Now of course when you are entering into the world of bookmarks there are so many options available, so many. So you could do absolutely anything that doesn't include anything remotely like these stamps and dies, so that would be fun too. I am going to quickly colour these using my alcohol markers. This is the TriBlend Spectrum Noir alcohol markers, and I've said it before, but there are 3 pens in each one of these barrels and they all sort of coordinate and they all blend beautifully together. This takes all of the thinking out of it for me when it comes to alcohol markers, which is what I need. I do not necessarily prefer this method of colouring. I actually was about to use watercolours or distress oxide, sorry, to do this. But anyway, these were sitting on my desk and I thought this would be just as fun for this one in particular. But when it comes to these kind of projects, I need that sort of the 3-barrel system, because it means I don't have to coordinate any of the colors. I don't have to do any testing off to the side. I know that they're all going to blend together perfectly. So that's what I love about these markers. Now I have just skipped through the colouring here. It's not my forte, so you definitely shouldn't follow me, but I can do enough to kind of get through. I have a couple of different paper pads here which I was considering. I am going the easy option with this card because card making can take long enough as is, so I'm going to use some pattern paper. But it would probably be just as easy to use some gorgeous inking and stencils over top, or spritzing some water over some water reactive inks over the through stencils, sorry. That would look really good too. Lots of really good options here, but I am going to go the easy one and just pop some pattern paper on. So obviously these bookmarks here are the front and the back. So I'm going to end up putting these back to back together. And I actually cut this out of 110 pound cardstock. I use the Recollections cardstock that is available here at Spotlight in New Zealand. If you are in New Zealand, that's where I purchase it from. And that means that these are going to be really, really strong bookmarks by the end of this. So I am popping them both onto the pattern paper, and they are going to be at different heights, but that doesn't bother me because you're not even going to be looking at the front and the back at the same time. So I'm going to pop these back to back and just trim these down with a pair of long bladed scissors. These ones are the Tim Holtz long bladed scissors, and I definitely recommend that you get a nice pair of long bladed scissors for card making. It can make life really easy, and it kind of gives a nice big long smooth cut especially when you're trimming off the edges of cards and things like that. Now I put some Ranger Multi-Medium matte finish glue in between here. I want something nice and strong because I do not want these coming apart at all. And I actually put it down with my little glue bottle, and then I smooth it out with my finger to make sure that I am right to the edges. As I said, I don't want this coming apart. I don't want it kind of any little bits that are going to, any of the papers that are going to kind of curl up or anything. I want this all to be a really solid bookmark so that it can be used for a decent amount of time. My kids have kind of just gotten into using bookmarks, and my daughter is starting to read kind of very, very basic chapter books, just like really basic chapter books. So she is enjoying starting to use bookmarks, and so I was kind of enjoying creating these, thinking of what she would like to use in her reading at the moment. These ones actually aren't for her, but I do know that this is the kind of thing she is loving at the moment. So these are very simple bookmarks. Of course, you could dress these up to be absolutely, absolutely gorgeous, but I have gone pretty simple today. I'm going to use the corner rounder just to round off both of those bottom corners because the top ones are rounded off with the die, and that just all matches nicely. Then I'm going to pop a little bit of ribbon through just each one of those little holes at the top. And again, this is completely optional, and any ribbon at all is going to work well. I actually put 2 layers through the top of each ribbon to give it 4 little pieces of string. Now here is where I'm going to create my card base. So this is starting off as a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, the 110 pound, and I'm scoring in at 3.5 inches and then again at 7 inches, and then I will cut it off at the 10.5 inches. So the final one will be a cut, not a score. So I'm going to fold this up like it will almost create like a Z fold card, but this is not going to be a fun fold card. This is just going to be a normal plain opening card. It is, I guess it's kind of almost going to be a slimline shape. Although I must admit that I don't really do slimline cards. They don't particularly interest me, the shape. I don't need to buy all the supplies and things that have come out to go along with them. So I am just creating this simply because it works well with the bookmarks. Now I am going to cut this off. I can't remember how long. I think the card ends up being about 7 or so inches tall, but that's not important to me. I honestly don't mind how tall it is. I have a video on my channel about how I go about making all of my own envelopes. So when I am card making, it truly doesn't bother me how big or the kind of the sizes or the shapes I make my cards. I do pretty much stick to making 4.25 by 5.5 inch, kind of a nice rectangle card, the standard size card. But if I go to create something a little bit different like this, then I can easily make my own envelopes as well. I will pop a link down in the description box below to the make your own envelopes video. It is very, very simple envelope making, and that's how I like my card making. I have a couple of colours here of Distress Oxide inks. I have Squeeze Lemonade, that's the lighter one, and I have Mustard Seed, which is the slightly darker shade of yellow. And I'm using some domed foam blenders to get a really nice blend in between the two. Now I'm only going halfway here, so at the moment I am going to move to the front, and you can see how I kind of have that flap there. The top flap is facing off to the left, so it opens to the left at the moment, but never fear, this is going to be a normal card soon. And I think once you it's hard to explain as I go along, but once you see in a minute what I end up doing, it will all make sense. So now I'm blending what will technically be the bottom half of the front panel, and again just doing the same thing using the squeezed lemonade and then the mustard seed down the bottom, and I go back and forth just to get a really nice blend in between the two. You could definitely just use one color, you could even just put pattern paper here, that would look beautiful as well. And so at the moment you can kind of see how the card goes. Now this is where I'm going to fold it out and I'm going to cut a little opening. This is where my bookmarks are going to sit down and inside the card. So this is why I wasn't worried about my blending towards the top. And you can also see on the inside I wasn't worried about my blending kind of going over, coming onto that front panel. So it's starting to come together. You can see it's a little bit messy on the inside there, and I'm just kind of finishing up that cut nice and close. I do have a little corner there that I obviously missed with some of the squeezed lemonade, so I just quickly go over it and you wouldn't even know. And then this is where I have a couple of things that I'm going to add. Remember I said I wanted to make sure this card looked like a finished card once the bookmarks were taken out. So I'm going to pop this into a stamping platform, and then I have the same stamp set. This is the All the Birthdays stamp set from Concord and 9th. I think I've pretty much been using this in every video, but it is definitely a favorite. I didn't want to stamp the birthday sentiments. Both of those little bookmark things come with about 3 or so sentiments each in their little packets, but I didn't want to stamp those on the bookmarks because I feel like the bookmarks aren't the happy birthday. The bookmarks are just the part that's going to be taken out and used completely separately, whereas the card is kind of the happy birthday part, if that makes sense at all. It makes sense in my head, but I'm not sure if it makes sense out loud. And you could most definitely use an acrylic block to do this. The only reason why I choose to use stamping platforms at this point is because of the work that I have already put into the card. So I have already folded it, I've already done all of my ink blending, I've already done my cutting, and it would be frustrating at this point to kind of not have a nicely stamped image. So I guess that's why I use a stamping platform. Often you will see me use acrylic blocks. I'm still a really big fan of acrylic blocks, and I think I probably prefer them because they are just kind of quicker and easier for me, but as I said, at this point is not when I want to be mucking it up. Now I am going to stamp the outline of these just to give them something a little bit funky, and because it is in the stamp set, so I may as well make the most use of it. So this is the outline to the word happy. I added some VersaFine sticky embossing ink, and then I added some gold embossing powder over top, and you can see it just gives it a very faint kind of gorgeous outline. Now this is a beautiful, big, intricate mandala die, as you can see, and this one is one of those ones that I kind of have in my stash, and I had a couple of these die cut out already in the grey, and I felt like that would go really nice against the orange, but because these are so intricate, and when I die cut these, I did not have any like stick it double-sided adhesive already on the back of these. So the way that I add adhesive to these is I just pop down some of the Ranger multi-medium glue, and then I use a makeup sponge to sponge it nice and an even coverage amount on the back, and then that way I can get it all lined up where I want, press it down, hold it for just a second, and I know that it is going to be adhered really, really well and definitely not come off. So I'm going to put one down the bottom and then one up the top. I almost thought I could get away with just putting one down and then cutting off the other half, and then I would be able to add it to the top as well. But when I kind of placed it on, it just didn't come up far enough, and so I had both of them there, so I was okay with using them anyhow. I will, however, keep the scraps that I cut off the top and the bottom because I can definitely use those for another project anyhow. Whilst I'm letting the glue dry there, I'm putting on some really skinny double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put that on both edges here, and this is what is going to create the pocket that will hold my bookmarks. So I'm going to pop that down. You want to get a really nice strong adhesive. You could use a little bit of liquid glue as well, but be careful how much you use because you don't want to close up the pocket too much when the glue kind of squeezes out a little bit. I'm using the long bladed scissors to get a really nice clean cut down the side of those mandala dies, and then this card to me looks really gorgeous just as is by itself. I'm adding a few enamel dots to my bookmarks just to kind of dress up the bottom bit just a little bit, just 3 up the top left and then 3 down the bottom right of each one. And I kind of had these enamel dots sitting here on my desk, so I think that's what encouraged me to use them on these. As I said earlier, these bookmarks are super basic, but that's what I was going for, and I'm okay with that in this card. There are so many different ways that you can create amazing bookmarks with all of our card making techniques, which you're able to kind of carry through. But for this one, I was really happy with how this card turned out. It didn't take me too long to make. It looks gorgeous whether the bookmarks are in or out. The bookmarks slide in and out really nice and easily, and I'm able to kind of pop those ribbons down and that will fit in an envelope really nicely without too much trouble. And I think this is a really cute set that I'm happy to give away as well. So there is my envelope and bookmarks little gift set. I hope you have enjoyed this video today. I will put links to everything down in the description box below. Other than that, I hope you have enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks, bye!